Okay, apparently I am live. Just give me 2 seconds, guys, if you're watching me and wondering what's going on. And I will make sure everything's working okay, and then I'll hop back on and say hello. In the meantime, I'm just going to get my stuff set up here. Let me just have a look and pick overhead with front inset. Okay, this is probably a good layout as well. Just let me add my text. Here you go. Okay, I'm just gonna readjust my screen here. So hello if you're just tuning in, and especially if you're tuning in for the first time, let me know where you're watching from, and also what you're hoping to learn, and I'll try and see what I can do to accommodate. And obviously this is a live broadcast. I know on YouTube and everywhere on social media, a huge percentage of content consumers don't understand the concept of live streaming. Okay, they expect quick, like 30-second TikTok videos. If you're one of those, just leave me a line please, and go away and go watch your YouTube shorts and TikToks and Instagram reels. This is not what this is. What I do are basically I cook live on air, and if you've got any questions, I will try my best to answer. If you don't know who I am, my name is Jackie M. I was born and raised in Malaysia, and I have been running a Malaysian food business here in Sydney, Australia for over 30 years. I specialize in Malaysian hawker food, and I do a number of things within that context, one of which is what I'm going to be talking about. But I'm going to get Paul. I'm going to holler, Paul, can you just make sure I'm streaming on YouTube and stuff? Okay, so I am live, guys. Say hello, let me know where you're watching from. I can't actually see your comments, unfortunately, but I'll get Paul to try and feed them to me, and I'll answer them here. If you do post a comment or question that I missed during this session, I will aim to go back and answer any queries you have afterwards. Okay, so let me just go back to my front screen again. Is that it? Okay. Yeah, so anyway, what this is about, a few things, because I haven't gone live for a while. Now, if you see my, well, truthfully, I have gone live on Facebook, not as frequently as I would have liked, but in any case, I'm doing this on YouTube now, because apparently Facebook's changed its focus so that any live videos past 30 days are getting automatically deleted, and I would like to think that my content has a little bit more longevity than a 30-day time frame. But having said that, I'm going to be talking about something that's happening a couple of weeks here in Sydney, Australia, so there is a time issue related to that. But essentially what I'm going to cover today are three or four things. First of all, my curry paste. Okay, this is my range of handcrafted dry curry paste kits, which I launched about this time last year, and I sell them and send them around the world. You can find out more about them at shop.jackiem.com.au. and yeah, essentially what they are micro batches of curry paste ingredients. These are not just spice seasonings, by the way. A lot of people confuse these for, like, you know, seasoning, like whatever. Okay, this is not it. This is essentially everything you need to be able to reproduce a Malaysian dish of you know, usually a curry in your neck of the woods, without needing to add salt or sugar and whatever. The only thing you need are oil and to basically fry it up, and protein, your choice of protein, and coconut milk. Okay, and of course water. So these are just some of the products. I have more at my website, shop.jackiem.com.au, and I'm going to do a couple of things with these. First of all, I'm going to show you how you can actually reconstitute them and cook them up at your end and turn them into wet curry paste. Okay, there's a method to my madness as to why I produce these dry, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. But essentially, I'm going to show in this session how you can turn them, once you buy them and they arrive at your doorstep, how you can, look, this is basically, this is a long shelf life thing, okay, and it's shelf stable. You can keep it, like, you know, in your pantry or whatever for probably years, just much like any kind of like dry ingredients you have at home. Okay, secondly, if you do want to actually turn it into a wet curry paste, what you do, I'll show you now. And the reason why you might want to do that is to use it, first of all. Secondly, to gifted, okay, wet curry paste probably look a little bit more compelling than these dry herbs here, okay? So maybe you can turn it into a wet curry paste and then sell it. And with some of my products, right, like my sambal belacan, you turn it into a wet paste and then you serve it as a wet paste, okay? Because sambal belacan is essentially a dip. So my main focus is this particular product here today. And the reason being that someone actually contacted me 2 nights ago to say that they got one of these and followed the instructions and it still didn't turn out, okay? I mean, the caveat being that they thought it tasted delicious, but it didn't look the way I expected it to look, nor how they expected it to look. And the second thing I want to talk about is, so I'm going to show you how I would do it, okay? The second thing I want to talk about is the Thermomix. Some of you might know I'm a Thermomix consultant, and I'm going to actually cook this in the Thermomix, and therein lies part of the problem, because I'm very Thermomix oriented in some of my tasks, because the Thermomix helps me save a lot of time. And also, for those of you who are Thermomix people out there who love their Thermomix, I'm going to talk a little bit about the differences between the TM6, the Thermomix 6, of which you can see 2 behind me, and the upcoming TM7, which is going to start shipping in Australia second half of this year. And if you're based in Australia, how you can get your hands on either the TM6 with the super duper best ever bundle offer right now that's available until June. You can get it through me if you're in Australia. And also the TM7, how you can actually order one for it to be shipped as soon as it's available, okay? So, and the third thing I want to talk about is the event at the Grace Hotel, and that's where I actually sent out an email to my subscribers, and I mentioned that there might be something extra for you guys, okay? And that is what I'm going to announce, what's happening at the Grace Hotel in Sydney here in a couple of weeks. 2 weekends from now, and I'm going to be there. And what you can get from me, that's going to be an offer never to be repeated, okay? So let me just turn on my stove here, and I'm going to change my layout here so that you can see me overhead, see what we're doing overhead with front inset. Okay, so here we are. This is my stove here, and I'm going to turn this on, and okay, here we go. So these are the curry paste that I'm going to turn into wet curry paste and or a paste that you can use as a dip, which is the sambal belacan, okay? The sambal belacan, like I said, I'm going to do this in the Thermomix. Okay, first of all, we're going to cut these open. So here I've got the mild rendang paste, I've got a meat curry paste, and I've got a nyonya laksa paste, okay? These 3 we're going to cook here, and this one I'm going to cook in the Thermomix, but I'll talk a little bit about how you would do it on the pan. And as far as the ingredients that go into these, okay, some of these have so many different ingredients in them that they are like by necessity like produced in micro batches, because they're very complicated for me to assemble, okay? I had to reverse engineer the recipes from my restaurant days. I used to own a restaurant here in Sydney, Australia, until I gave it up to look after my son Noah, who is disabled. And I basically had to re-engineer all my most popular restaurant recipes so that they come to you in this format, okay? So I'm not one to ask for feedback or ask for reviews, but I do get a lot of very positive, unsolicited feedback about them, okay? So anyway, what we're going to do, Thermomix, I'm going to chuck this in here, okay? So this is the sambal belacan. Because it's vacuum packed, it's a little bit crunchy. And because I do this myself, right? This is not some high-tech manufacturing facility. This is all handcrafted, hand blended by me, okay? This is what it looks like. What I'm going to do here, I'm going to use the scales in my Thermomix. And I'm going to weigh 200 grams of water for that pack. Okay, so just good old plain water. And I'm going to add 80 grams of oil, okay? So this is what it looks like now. Okay, now I'm just going to cover this. I'm going to replace this with the simmer basket so it doesn't splatter everywhere. I'm going to cook this at 120 degrees for about 30 minutes. Okay, if you were cooking on a stove top, you would probably not need 30 minutes, but the Thermomix is basically locked in at 120 degrees top temperature when you're doing manual cooking. So we're going to stick with this top setting here, but let's put it on 30 minutes and we'll see how it looks. Okay, 30 minutes, 120 degrees, and I want to put it on a speed of 1. Okay, it's doing that in the background, and then in the meantime we're going to go to these dry curry paste, and we're going to do the same but in these saucepans. Okay, I just need to fetch some more oil, so I'll come back in 2 seconds. So I'll put the simmer basket on top of that so that it doesn't splatter everywhere. And okay, so let's do this. The meat curry. And as I do this, I'll explain a little bit about what each of these packs are. So the meat curry is actually based on the recipe for my lamb curry. If you're old enough to remember my restaurant, which has been closed for 13 years now, you wouldn't know it because I still get people call up asking to book a table. But my meat curry is based on my lamb curry, Malaysian lamb curry from my restaurant days, which used to be one of the most popular dishes on my menu, and which I also used to sell frozen. Okay, so you see the meat curry, okay, it's got all the spices, all the onion, all the garlic and all that in dry form. Okay, I'm just adding enough water to soak it. Okay, so I'm soaking it and I'm mixing it. I probably could use less water here, but it doesn't matter. When you fry it up, it will be fine. Okay, so we've got the lamb curry. The other thing we've got here is the mild rendang. The mild rendang is based on the recipe for my chicken rendang back in the day. Okay, I used to sell a range of frozen meals that caught the eye of Costco when they first set up shop here in Australia and they wanted to carry it. But my chicken rendang, I call this a mild rendang paste because it is mild. Okay, you see the ingredients here. There's over 22 ingredients in this recipe. It includes things like turmeric leaves as well, bay leaves, asam keping, which is tamarind slices, and kaffir lime leaves, all kinds of stuff. Okay, so it's got everything you need. And I'm going to, again, just add some water to this and let it soak. I'm just going to turn on the temperature here. JackieM.com.au email. That's to sign up to my email list. And I'm going to change the URL here to, what do you call it? shop.JackieM.com.au. Okay, and I'm going to move it so it doesn't annoy people because they can't see the screen properly. Okay, so again, and I've turned on the stove here, by the way, just mixing this up into, so it's properly mixed up. And this we're going to do the same. And finally, the laksa, and this laksa was based on the laksa nyonya that I used to sell at my restaurant, which also was one of the most popular dishes. And again, contains all the dry ingredients. And I know you're going to scream, well, not very nice things when you see that I'm making laksa nyonya using dry ingredients. But for the record, I actually teach a bunch of people how to master Malaysian hawker cooking online using recipes from my restaurant. And I taught them how to make this, and I also taught that. And one of the students, I also actually sent them for comparison purposes because you know, they didn't really have a frame of reference. I sent them a pack of laksa paste all the way from Malacca, from a place that was famous for its laksa nyonya as well. And their claim to fame, well, one of their selling points is the fact that their laksa paste takes 8 hours to fry up, okay? So you would not be, you know, you'd be forgiven for thinking cynically about this laksa paste, which you can whip up in 5 minutes, okay? But they tried my recipe, learned from my Malaysian Hawker Pro program, albeit using fresh ingredients, but it's the same recipe as the dry one. And they tried the one from the famous place in Malacca, and they said, you know what, I think yours is at least as good, if not better. So there you go, right? So don't diss it till you try it, is what I'm trying to say. Okay, you see this is simmering away quite quickly. I'm going to actually add some oil to it now, okay? And I've got a big tub of oil here. So for those of you who are just tuning in now, I'm demoing how you can use my dry curry paste kits, okay? And with the laksa, I'm going to add more oil. Let me actually, you know, just move the laksa down here so you can see it. Here you go. Okay, so I haven't added oil here. My pans are a little bit too big for my stove, but it is what it is. I tend to buy everything in commercial size because of my commercial background. But essentially with the laksa, you just got to remember you got to add more oil than what you would generally feel comfortable adding, okay? So if you're one of these people who are very oil averse, just remember a Malaysian curry laksa and laksa nyonya is meant to look oily, okay? If it doesn't, it looks like pumpkin soup. And we Malaysians will silently judge you. Okay, so let's add some oil to the meat curry paste. Did you share it to MSFK and all that? Okay.
There's a couple of comments on YouTube, just people saying hi.
Oh, okay. Hi guys. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for those who say hi. Let me know where you're watching from. Okay. So I mentioned earlier that there's a method in my madness for producing dry paste as opposed to wet ones. I have told this before to those of you who have followed me for a while. The reason why I make dry paste is because of their lifespan, okay? So I don't have to worry about them going off, which means I don't have to deal with expired stock, okay? 1. 2, for transportation purposes. If they're wet, they're heavy and bulky and they can leak, right? Because I pack these in vacuum pouches. I've also packed them in containers. Containers can crack. I've basically experienced anything that can conceivably go wrong with shipping things long distances have gone wrong, okay? And also if they are wet, they need to be temperature controlled, okay? I don't know why my other stove keeps turning on, even though I keep trying to turn it off. Okay, so they need to be temperature controlled. Let me actually just not do this with the laksa because I don't have room to fit 3 large size pans on the stove. Okay, but you can see these two. So this is the bottom here, bottom left is the mild rendang. And this one here, top right, is the meat curry paste, okay? Just mixing this through. Okay, so if you're one of these people who are a home-based producer, Malaysian food, or aspiring home-based producer, Malaysian food, who wants to make a living out of this, come and talk to me because I have a program just for you. Okay, we'll talk about that towards the end a little bit, but you can join my waitlist if you like as well at walkaroundasia.com. Okay, so you see this here? After 5 minutes or so, it's ready. Okay, this is your wet mild rendang paste. which I'm going to set aside, and I'm going to move my laksa paste over to start cooking. Okay, and this in the meantime is my wet meat curry paste, which I think needs a little bit more oil, but we'll see how we go in a second. And this here is the laksa paste. Okay, so just frying it up. So adding a little bit more oil here. Okay, and as with all Malaysian recipes, right, if you are making this yourself off of a recipe on how to, like, say for instance you're cooking a lamb curry, okay, what a typical recipe will call for would be onion, garlic, and lemongrass, ginger, curry powder mix, and all the other stuff, right? They'll tell you to peel, blend, puree, whatever, fry it up till the oil separates. That's essentially what we're doing here, except I've already blended everything here for you, okay? So it's already got all the onion. It's got 3 different types of onion, in fact, not just one. And the idea is, like I said, first of all, make it easy for me to be able to send it even across the world. Second of all, it makes it easy for you to be able to use without having to think, oh, I need to go out and buy this to be able to use this, okay? Now, you've got everything you need in that packet except for coconut milk and except for your protein, basically. Okay, and of course oil that you want to use to saute. You see how the laksa paste is coming along? Okay, this is just a couple of minutes in. And voila, here we go. And basically also, in terms of running a Malaysian food business, right, in terms of food consumption, I have some ideas around it, okay? My personal philosophy around Malaysian food, based on my experience in cooking and selling it all these years, is that, okay, in terms of convenience versus authenticity in inverted commas, I don't like using the word authentic because, like I said, that's a very, very loaded term and can mean different things to different people, because Malaysian food is so diverse and so evolved, okay? So I don't really like to say this is authentic and that isn't, but essentially the traditional Malaysian version of a particular dish versus like a modern iteration, and where I fit on the spectrum really depends on kind of like basically what you can get from me, okay? So in my thinking, being a Malaysian based in Australia, I am limited by a few things. Basically my recipes are molded. I don't want to say limited, are molded by a few things, okay? First of all, ingredient availability. Second of all, local palates, right? And third of all, time constraints and also conveniences and stuff like that, convenience shortcuts and all that, right? So what I'm trying to say is that I think this came up actually quite starkly in one of my Malaysian Hawker Pro training programs, because I collaborate with my students on refining recipes and all that. These recipes are based on my restaurant, but obviously things continue to evolve, right? And they give me their expertise as well, their own kind of experience, and we basically come away learning a lot from each other, okay? But what I'm trying to say is that essentially to produce and sell Malaysian food, right, people who buy ready-to-eat food, ready-to-eat Malaysian food, are going to be people who buy ready-to-eat Malaysian food are your biggest market essentially, but you're limited by geography and you're limited by time constraints, okay? So who doesn't want a hot, fresh, cooked to order char kway teow, okay? But obviously, if you live halfway around the world, I'm not going to be able to sell you that. And secondly, and I've had people ask me, do you sell frozen char kway teow? No, I do not, because the quality to me would not hold up, right? The question obviously for you is it worth the trade-off? Is it worth like selling frozen char kway teow at risk to your personal reputation? And for the consumer, is it worth them buying something that's been like frozen and reheated? Okay, so I found, having done basically across all the spectrum of like, you know, ready to eat food to frozen food to wet curry paste, which I still sell in a very, very small amount. And part of the reason why I'm doing this is to teach my wet curry paste customers to turn your own dry curry paste into wet curry paste, because I'm not going to sell the wet curry paste forever. They just take up way too much of my time, and I really don't have the time to dedicate to it, okay? Because the wet curry paste, like I said, are not shelf stable. They need to be kept cold, and also they have a lifespan of only 4 to 6 weeks. So I not only need to make them and ship them, I personally actually make a point of shipping them myself. Okay, so I limit people who can buy my wet curry paste to people based in Sydney only, so that I can ship them. But Sydney is a big place, so if I was shipping it to Penrith, it will take me an hour and a half there and an hour and a half back. Okay, so I don't necessarily want to keep selling wet curry paste. I'm doing it now because of continued demand, legacy demand, right? But I want people to buy the dry curry paste and turn them wet if they so want, okay? Once you've turned it into a wet curry paste like this, you can then store it in your fridge, store it in a jar, use it within 4 to 6 weeks, gift it as a beautiful, like, food gift, just like people gift like spices and whatever their own blends of stuff are, right? So these are all the different ways you can use my dry curry paste, turn them into wet curry paste, and store them or use them, okay? And the other thing about these curry paste is that they're going to feature at the upcoming Grace Hotel AMBC, Australian Malaysian Business Council, Malaysian Food Fair. It's the first ever. It's going to be halal, and it's going to feature a dozen vendors, including yours truly. There's not going to be any food cooked on site, okay? It's not like a market stall like what you might have seen me operate at other events. Everything's going to be pre-made, pre-packed, and I will have some curry paste for sale there as well. So that's the mild rendang paste that I've packed up. I'm going to bag up the meat curry paste. So these curry paste, like I said, you heard me mention earlier about my philosophy about selling Malaysian food, about producing and selling Malaysian food. I mean, am I going to claim that this is like as good as making it from scratch by your grandmother using all organic fresh herbs from her garden? No, okay? This is really kind of like the trade-off, okay? It's the convenience, it's accessibility, so that you can actually get it without having to buy return airfares to Malaysia and bribing your family members over there to cook them up for you. And it's also about just, you know, being able to experience Malaysian food that's also produced by a first generation immigrant to Australia, okay? And also, it's not mass produced. The good thing about this, if nothing else, is that I know you're thinking, oh, why don't I just buy factory produced Malaysian curry paste? You can, of course, you know, and some of those have pretty like decent flavors, and but of course they're mass produced in the factory. They might contain ingredients you're not that big a fan of, you know, they might not use your preferred kind of oil. Mine does not contain any oil. You have to add your own oil, okay? Okay, we're going to check on the last item here in a second. Let me just move this out of the way in the meantime. And what's happening at the AMBC, Australian Malaysian Business Council Halal Malaysian Food Fair, what's happening is that there are going to be a dozen food stalls there plus, and we're going to be doing, like I said, Malaysian food, all kinds of vendors. And we've been asked to bring a lot of food, so I hope you guys show up, because I'd hate to bring a whole lot of food back home with me at the end of the day, okay? But let me just change the layout here so you can see what it looks from the top. Okay, so that's the laksa paste, that's the meat curry paste, and that's the mild rendang paste, okay? You see what it looks like? And what you can do with it now, it only took a couple of minutes, right? About 5 minutes or so on average for you to turn a dry curry paste pack into a wet paste. This is the laksa paste, and what you can do is just turn this into laksa. You just scoop like a couple of tablespoons, add coconut cream and add water and simmer it, and then pour the soup over like separately blanched noodles, okay? And that's your laksa nyonya. And of course, if you really want to ramp it up, add some fresh herbs, what you can get in your neck of the woods, okay? So this is just a base paste. If you've got like Vietnamese mint, also what's known as laksa leaves, and if you've got all kinds of like, you know, if you like Thai basil or other kinds of stuff, just add them to the garnish, and that will really produce something quite memorable, in my opinion, okay? I've got a ton of reviews about my food, completely unsolicited, which are sometimes screenshot, because people are kind enough to just kind of like reach out and tell me how amazed they were about these dishes, and I will share them with you. I don't generally care to, I don't have some like big massive like coordinated strategy to promote these, and part of the reason is because this is only one aspect of what I do for a living, and it's actually, truth be told, very labor intensive. I make them in micro batches. Like I said, each batch of mild rendang paste produces only 8 packets, okay? So if you place an order for like fairly large quantities, it does take me a few days to produce them, usually, okay? And I actually, right now, I have a couple of orders sitting in the background that I need to ship out. Okay, now, as far as the Australian-Malaysian food, the Australian-Malaysian Business Council Malaysian Food Fair at the Grace Hotel. Just look up ambc. I believe, just give me 2 seconds. I think Paul will be able to share the URL with us in 2 seconds. But in the meantime, let me see if I can find the poster. Here we go. I've got the poster here. Let me just add it. Add source, image file. Somewhere. Here we go. Okay. Australian Malaysian Food Fair, and it's happening on the 26th of April. That's 2 Saturdays from today. And you can RSVP by scanning that QR code on the screen. And obviously this applies to Sydney siders, but if you go to AMBC and NSW for New South Wales.org.au and just browse through their website, you'll find links to be able to register for the event. And why is it important to register? So let me just ambcnsw.org.au. Okay, let me just type in the URL so you don't forget. Okay, nsw.org.au. Okay, AMBC stands for Australian Malaysian Business Council. nsw.org.au, that's the website where you can look for the link to that particular event that's happening in 2 weeks, 2 Saturdays from today. I will be there, and you'll be able to buy lots of Malaysian food, you'll be able to buy my curry paste, and you will be able to buy one of the last remaining copies of my award-winning collaborative durian cookbook. And this is the original limited edition copy, okay? Once they're gone, they're gone. We've got like about 50 copies left here in Australia. And once it's gone, it's gone. this is the original, beautifully designed, okay? And this is my favorite version of the durian cookbook. We have put out a different version subsequently, but this is my favorite because it's very elegant, very beautiful. This is the one that won a first prize award at the Gourmand World Book Awards a couple of years ago when it was first came out. Okay, so we're very proud of this. This has a foreword by the then Secretary General of the Malaysian Ministry of Agriculture, but at this AMBC event, at this Malaysian Food Fair, I'm going to print out a beautifully written prose foreword by Khir Johari, who himself is an award-winning of this spectacular tome of a book on Malays of Singapore. Let me just go and grab it, actually. It's so incredibly amazing. Hang on a sec. Khir Johari produced this book called The Food of Singapore Malays, and it won first prize overall when it came out. It took him 10 years to write this book, and it is amazing. Khir Johari is a literary giant and an academic, a very great man, and he was very kind to write us a foreword for the durian cookbook. Because this is the first edition, the foreword is not in there, but I'm going to print Khir's foreword separately in full, because in the other edition we couldn't fit all the words into that particular layout, but this time we will print it in full and insert it into your copy of the durian cookbook, which you can get signed. If you care to get me to sign your durian cookbook at the event, I will sign it for you, okay? But like I said, we only have 50 copies of this limited edition durian cookbook left here in Australia, so you're gonna take it or forever hold your peace, okay? At the event, at the Grace Hotel event. And I have another book, okay, which a lot of you have not heard me say a lot about since, okay? Just hang on a sec. This is a mini cookbook. It's called Jackie M's Malaysian Street Food at Home, and it's got 20 of the most popular recipes from my restaurant. This has a little bit of a story behind it. For those of you who may not know, I gave up my restaurant 13 years ago when Noah was born because he was very sick in hospital in the ICU. So when I gave up my restaurant, I thought, oh, this will be my kind of like the one thing to remember the restaurant by, which was to put out this mini cookbook. I've got a number of copies left, but if you attend the Grace Hotel event, or even if you don't and you're watching this, you just gotta message me and say you're interested, or sign up to my email list, okay? Which is let me just rename this, okay? Jackie m.com.au/email. And I'll tell you how to get your hands on all of this, okay? All of this meaning my curry paste bundle, my durian cookbook with Khir Johari's extra printed out foreword, okay? And this book here, my Malaysian Street Food at Home cookbook, and you got these here sell for $16.99 on my website, okay? So I sell them for 5 for $75, so if you were buying 5, it'd be $75. This cookbook sells for $65, so the two of them are $140. This sells for $20, $160, and what else? Okay, $160, okay, is the going rate for this bundle, but if you buy them at the AMBC event, it's $99 for all of them, okay? So $160, you're saving $60, And I'll throw in a free box of curry puffs, my robust puffs. If you saw my email from a week ago, I mentioned the mention of my robust puffs. My robust puffs are actually just spiral hand rolled curry puffs. So every single curry puff you eat is personally handmade by yours truly, okay? And I make them, but I make them with a twist because I use sweet potato in the filling. And the very highly regarded Australian media food journalist had some a couple of weeks ago, and she thought that they reminded her of me robust, and she said you shouldn't just call these curry puffs. Curry puffs does not do these justice. These are like robust puffs. So I thought, okay, that's pretty funny, haha. Robust in Malay means boiled, right? To boil. And the curry puffs are actually deep fried. It makes completely zero sense, but it so happened at this AMBC event, when I put down my list of things that I'd be selling, the organizer pointed out to me that someone else was already selling spiral curry puffs. Okay, and I thought, let's not fight about this, let's not like whatever, let's just call mine robust puffs because they're different enough, whatever. Okay, so hopefully if you see robust puffs on any of the advertising for this event, they're actually my spiral curry puffs but with a specific twist that's unique to Jackie M. So if you're going to this event, the robust puffs, you get a pack of 4 of my curry puffs. The durian cookbook, which by itself usually sells for $65 without the extra foreword by Kyo Johari, but I'm throwing it in, and usually it wouldn't be signed. This book, which is $20, okay, and a 5-pack of my dry curry paste. And the great thing about these dry curry pastes is you can pack them in your suitcase and take them anywhere around the world, or you can take them camping with you. You can take them on your next self-catered vacation here in Australia or anywhere around the world, okay? They're very, very versatile, okay? And they were designed to be versatile. Like I said, there's a method to my madness, okay? Okay, you get all of those for $99 if you're going to the Grace Hotel event. But you got to let me know. You got to pre-order and buy it, okay? So I'll send you a link, but you need to sign up at jackiem.com.au/email. If you're not going to be at the Grace Hotel event, I will still hold that same offer minus the curry puffs. Curry puffs, obviously, I can't ship anywhere. You have to eat them. Minus the curry puff, same price. Okay, you're still saving like over $60 from the regular going price. And first in best dress, like I said, I only have 50 copies of these left in Australia. And you know, I personally only have 60 copies left. That's it. End of story. Okay, 50 copies. So you get that. You know, like I said, you do have to pre-order. I don't want to bring them all and only have them not go. Okay. But yeah. But if you're not going to the Grace Hotel event, you will either have to pick up the stuff from me here, or you will have to pay for shipping for me to post it anywhere around the world, okay? Because as you can imagine, postage, shipping and all that can be quite daunting for someone like me who makes very, very small margins. Okay, Thermomix. Okay, let me just pull up a picture of the Thermomix. Have a little image file. Who's heard of the TM7, the Thermomix? Okay, this is the TM7. Okay, can you see it? Okay, you can see it looks very, very different to the Thermomixes I've got behind me. And that's a new model that's coming out, that's going to start shipping second half of this year. Now, whether you have a TM6 or not, right? A couple of things. If you're after the TM7 and you're based in Australia, or if you know someone who's after TM7, come and talk to me. As a consultant, I'm not allowed to offer any extra bonuses to people who buy Thermomixes from me. I am, however, allowed to offer bonuses to people who refer or who host a Thermomix demo or who refer friends to it. So come and talk to me privately. If you know someone who wants to buy either a Thermomix TM6, which until stocks last or until early June, you can buy with a bunch of extras worth over $1,000. Okay, so the Thermomix costs $2,500 plus, but you're going to get like over $1,000 worth of bonuses for the TM6, which essentially does the same thing. The design looks different. The TM7 has 2 additional features that the TM6 does not have, okay? And the TM6, like I said, if you buy it before June, you will get like over $1,000 worth of bonuses with it. And secondly, once they sell out, you won't be able to buy them again, okay? But the TM7, you have to buy now, pay in full, no installments, nothing, and you won't get it until it arrives. It starts shipping second half of this year, okay? It's probably mid-June-ish or something like that. We don't really know yet at this point. So the idea is that if you know, whether you want a TM6, which does a beautiful job, I know they're good because I actually have a few of them, or whether you want the TM7, come and talk to me. If you're based in Australia, you don't already have a consultant, and we can talk. Or if you know anyone who wants one, ask them to talk to me. And finally, okay, Malaysian Hawker Pro. Let me just, Malaysian, I mentioned, let me just see if I can, let me just rewrite this, okay. Okay. Okay, my online coaching platform falls under the umbrella of this website called walkaroundasia.com. Okay, Walk Around Asia actually used to be a TV show concept that I talked with a TV director many years ago, but it never eventuated, and I was cheeky and I went ahead and registered the domain because I stopped hearing from him. I thought, what the hell? It's there, I took it. But walkaroundasia.com is where I now coach people how to cook Malaysian food, you know, with direct coaching from me. And the aim is for you to be able to master these dishes at a level where they're good enough to sell. There are a couple of caveats to it. First of all, what I teach you are basically home-based sizes within the context of a home kitchen. So that's good for those who are wanting to be able to replicate these dishes without any kind of special commercial equipment, special hawker equipment or whatever. But then we do talk about like scaling them within our group, okay? Right now, my first cohort, I launched this a few weeks ago. My first cohort consists about 50% home cooks, hobby cooks, dedicated, like, you know, to reproducing Malaysian food the way they remember it from their time spent in Malaysia and Singapore. And also the other 50% are actually food professionals who essentially are a little bit sick and tired of this knowledge gap when it comes to learning how to master Malaysian food, in particular Malaysian hawker food. So they want to learn from someone who's been at the trenches like me, who's basically cooked and sold Malaysian food for over 30 years here in Sydney, Australia. So the other caveat being that obviously because we are all based overseas, we are learning how to adapt Malaysian cooking styles and ingredients and whatever else to our present reality, okay? Which means substitutions, which means hunting down the right ingredients, which means figuring out how to hack these recipes so that they're good enough to sell while adding your own additional touch to it, okay, to maybe alleviate some of the missing ingredients or missing techniques and stuff like that. So that's what we do. It's a very exciting program. I am personally obsessed, and some of my people are obsessed. What we have been doing also on alternate weeks to the lectures, so every 2 weeks you get a new lesson. On alternate weeks to the lecture, I actually conduct 2 cook-alongs, virtual cook-alongs. It's kind of like this now, except that the other people are tuning in, joining me via Zoom, and they cook in their kitchens back in their neck of the woods, okay? And we all, at the same time, reproduce these dishes based on what they learned from the lecture while getting oversight and guidance from me directly, okay? And if you're based in Sydney, I've cooked along with some of my students here in Sydney as well. So essentially, they're getting an even better deal instead of like paying for in-person classes, which I personally actually charge thousands for. No kidding, I'm not kidding. They actually pay a fraction of that, but still get the benefit of joining me in my kitchen to be able to cook with me and watch how I work. Okay, so it's a very exciting program to me. Like I said, we are obsessed at collaboratively nailing how to make these recipes work. I get people ping me on WhatsApp and whatever, asking for feedback, and even during our cook-alongs, they give their suggestions, okay? Like Jenny in Canada is a very, very talented and accomplished Le Cordon Bleu trained chef herself, who's also a Thermomix consultant for those of you here in North America, who gives her own take on how to make some of these recipes work within her context, okay, in Canada, where they may be a little bit limited in terms of the Asian ingredients they have and all kinds of stuff, okay. And then we have Jenny, who last week in Melbourne came up with this suggestion that just blew my mind about how to make my sautés taste smoky, which I'm experimenting with, okay. She suggested it, I kind of like a throwaway remark, but because she had seen a YouTube video on it, and that had never been on my radar, because when I sold satay back in the day, I used charcoal. I cooked them on charcoal, so it wasn't an issue about making them taste smoky. But what if you're cooking it under an electric grill in your kitchen? That's a different ball game altogether. So these are the kind of stuff that we collaboratively are obsessed with nailing, okay. So if that sounds like your vibe, look up walkaroundasia.com and sign up to my waitlist, and I'll be in touch, okay. Any other questions or anything else, I will answer them after this live stream. Again, thanks very much for your company, and I will catch you over on my email side, okay. Catch you later, guys.